Hello and welcome to Sovereign RPG. I am Sovereign and today we're going to be talking about my first impressions in the game Moonlight Sculptor. Now I did a video a couple of days ago announcing this game was going to be releasing, and I wanted to actually get maybe 1 to 2 days in the game and actually get a feeling for all of the mechanics and everything that's going on in the game before I give my first impressions on the game so far. Now, I will be making content for this game because I am quite enjoying it, even though it has, as you can see, there's the whole automated thing. Like, I'm watching the actual, what you're seeing in the background right now is the game playing by itself. But you don't have to play. You don't have to auto-play it. There is a more than functional manual play system in this game. It is not just fully automated. But we'll go into more details about that in a moment. Now, firstly, I guess we should just have a look at the classes in the game. Now, it's not like the manhwa itself, the actual game inside of the actual light novel that the whole thing is based off of. It doesn't have all the mishmash of hundreds of different classes, hidden classes, etc. yet. It only really has the starting 5 with a jobless reincarnation. I did like that anime, weirdly enough. There is an option to start with no class at all, but that does actually get you into a class later on called the Sculptor, which is a sort of like, if you've ever seen Sword Art Online, it's actually really like Kirito. I don't know why I put that accent on when I said his name, where it has a mixture of sword play and casting spells. So let's just have a quick look over the actual starting classes themselves. We do have the warrior, which is actually pretty damn decent, especially in PvP. I did go up against a couple of warriors who were quite skilled in what they were doing. And if you're smart and you're in PvP, you don't have to auto it. You can auto it if you just want to run through and grab as many and do your dailies, etc. But the warrior itself has a stun lock mechanism where it will just stun you and stun you and stun you. Now, it wasn't doing much damage to myself. I've been upgrading my armor. I've been doing a lot of the dungeons and raids, etc. to get good pieces, but it was very good in the PvP sense of a stun lock. It'll be very good in guild v guild, which is another mechanic in this game which I really like. It's basically your standard barbarian type character. It hasn't got a shield. It can use a sword and shield, but it's mainly going to be using two-handers. Then we have the mage, which is your standard stuff. It's intelligent and wisdom based, mainly intelligence. This guy is all about AoEs and it's all about getting as much damage in a group as possible. It'll be very good in the guild versus guild ones if you do get people piled up and you can get them stunned all together with a couple of your other classes. It's actually pretty decent to do a lot of damage in a very large radius. Now, the archer is the same as every other game. They are massively, massively good at single target DPS. Massively, massively good. And they do have a secondary stat, which is the charisma. Even though they're an agility-based class, they do get a secondary stat in charisma, and charisma is used in taming pets. Now, you can tame any of the wildlife in the game. Anything that pops up in the game, you can actually tame, and they do give you bonuses, which we'll go through in a little while. Then you have the paladin, which is your stand. This one, again, they all have their own little stuns. Not as many as the warrior does. Like, the warrior can actually throw up those stuns constantly, which can be quite annoying. But this is the only character so far with an actual ability to heal. Now, I haven't got all the abilities in the game yet. I'm only level 80 on my main class. That is quite far ahead of everyone else. A lot of the top tier guys are sitting between 80 and 100 right now. I think the highest is 98, I do believe. But I didn't put any money into the game until after the second day. So I played it for the first day, made sure that I was enjoying the game and all of the things that were in the game. And then I put a little bit of money into it. Not too much, very small amount, and it got me quite far. So this is basically your constitution-based, kind of tanky, but more a support healer. It does have an AoE ability and a single target ability to start off with, but it's definitely more of your tanky class. It's going to be the frontline fighter. But there isn't really any taunts in the game that I know of yet. I haven't really gone too deep into all the other classes. I've been playing the Sculptor because I'm obviously an edgelord. Next up, we have the Alchemist. This is a guy that does your dots. It does a lot of your AoE abilities. It's a lot of explosions and stuff. You're mixing chemicals together to throw potions, I guess, like chemical compounds at your target. There's only a few classes that require actual ammunition, the Alchemist being one of them, the Sculptor being another, and the Archer being another. So when you're playing an Archer, you do have to worry about how many arrows you have. When you're playing a Sculptor, you do have to worry about how many idols you have. And with an Alchemist, it's obviously the alchemical bottles and their ingredients. Now, the last one here, which has a choose later option, which grows into the class of the Sculptor. Once you get to about level 30, level 32 in the main quest line, once you start the main quest line on this character, they all have kind of their own directions that they go and their own rewards that they get and sort of different directions of what class you choose goes into a different part of a story in the actual game, which is quite nice. I quite like that sort of class lore there. But it starts off as an all-rounder and you have one ability for 30 levels. It can be a bit of a ball ache at the beginning. It's not too hard. It's not that difficult. You can do it. It's quite easy. But if you're just casually playing, it can be a bit of a nightmare when you're seeing people running around as a mage, like blowing shit up left, right, and center. You just got one stabby ability, then that's it. For the first 30 levels, it can take a hot minute. Now, as you can see, none of the classes are gender locked. You can see the game is quite like Black Desert, online and mobile. Like, they're both quite similar to each other. Obviously, the mobile has more automated features, but the Black Desert Online does have those automated features as well. Except for this game has no male and female locked for each of the classes, so that's a bonus in my eyes, because I don't like to play females in certain games, especially when they all look like lolly 12-year-olds, which all the characters in this game kind of look like children. That's the one thing that put me off a little bit. So let's talk about some of the mechanics in the game now. We're actually on my main character, and we're going to go through some of the things that they have on here. They have your standard login reward events, that everything that's happening right now while you're playing as a new character, especially on the server global launch. Some of these things that you do get from the login rewards themselves, you can actually get during the main quest. So like it just makes a little bit of no sense to me why they have those in the new hero special attendance event that they have going on, when you can already get those items in the main quest, so you don't really need two of them. They do have your standard mobile stuff, your daily attendance event, your login time events, and obviously there's packages inside of these events to allow for you to get better things. You don't have to buy these. I haven't bought any of these, as you can see. None of these ones that I have bought myself. Like, I haven't purchased any of the packages for the daily stuff, for the RNG stuff, and I'm doing really well personally. You do get quite a lot of stuff celebrating the global launch. I've got quite a lot of these rewards already. Some of these stuff I just haven't bothered doing just yet, but I'll get around to it before the actual thing does end. So what you have here is the UI. I do like the UI. It's quite clean. It's not got all the Christmas tree lights of your standard mobile games of buy this, buy that, buy this, buy that, everything all in your face. Flashy, bang, bang. You do get pop-ups when you first start up in the game, but there is an option. They have added an option for you to be able to tick the bottom right that says never show this again, and that microtransaction will never pop up for you again. That puts massive points in my book. It is really, really good that they've added that in there. I always hate that in games when I get it thrown in my face, because I have a very, very weak mind when it comes to things popping up and saying, oh, this is amazing, buy it. And I'm like, I really shouldn't buy it. Here's my credit card. I do it all the bloody time. It's not good. So the fact that they've added an option to be able to not allow for those pop-ups to come up is really nice. So I guess the first thing you want to look at is the actual monetization itself. There is a lot of monetization on here, and the same with Black Desert. Same with Black Desert Online, Black Desert Mobile. They'll make their money off of you upgrading items that you do get. You can't buy sets of gear. You can buy the first novice and buddy system that give you sort of like the novice stuff. As you can see, I've bought some stuff here. Derek's Gift, Intermediate Trainee Pack, the Novice Trainee Pack. Some of these are bought with currency that you get in the game. Some of them are bought with real money. It's not too bad. I've spent about maybe 50 to 70 euros. I wasn't really keeping track. That's a lot more than a lot of people have spent. I just bought a lot of other things that I shouldn't have really done, but I really like the look of them, and I was quite enjoying the game. I still haven't bought any of the battle pass stuff, like the plus stuff. That stuff I'm not going anywhere near, because it's really not worth it. So don't bother buying any of that. Even though it's only small amounts of money, if you're going to put that money in the game for the battle pass, you can put it in on more important things. I will be doing a video on what to actually purchase if you do decide to purchase something later on, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. You have loads of different options in there. It's not too bad. There's some very expensive stuff in here, the special buddy supply packs, which really don't do anything if you're talking from a player to player point of view. Like they're not going to be adding any sort of, the buddy system is sort of a little pet system, but they run around and they pick up items when you use a certain food for them, give them the buddy buff, which allows them to pick up items that drop. So it speeds you up with your leveling, because you're not running around picking the stuff up. You just kill, your pet picks up the stuff, kill, pet picks up the stuff, etc. So there's nothing that's going to put a PvP person ahead of you by spending a lot of money on the buddy system. It's not that bad. There are some other stuff in here like armor enchantment packs, special enchantment packs, all this sort of stuff here to do with upgrading with the armor and weapon enchant scrolls, etc. Now that is a different story. That is pay to win. No matter how you look at it, it's pay to win because you will be able to use that armor you've upgraded with real money in PvP for the Colosseum and the ladder systems. So there will be people that are going to kick your ass when they spend €1,000 on this game. It's going to happen. Just going to have to deal with it if this is the kind of game you want to play. There are different options though. Like, you don't have to buy this currency stuff. I've got more than enough currency without spending a penny on any of these sort of monthly butterfly stuff. Nothing like that. Now, these are the red butterflies and the silver butterflies. Now, you can use both. So you can buy it with real life money, or you can buy it with the stuff that you get in the game as you're playing along and doing the main quest, etc. You do get some of this stuff, and the growth category spends those red and silver butterflies. Now, if you're going to consume all of these as well, are bought with in-game systems, you can, like there is, to have more than 2 characters, you have to buy a character slot expansion, but this is not expensive in the slightest. It's about €5 per extra character, which isn't that bad if you're going to be spending a lot of time playing the game. But even then, if you're going to be playing on one character, you don't have to worry about this sort of thing. Appearance change, tickets, blah, blah, standard stuff. But this is another one. It's not really pay to win again, because they'll just be able to spend a lot more time out in the field without having to bring it back. But they don't have tiers in the actual Colosseum system yet that I can see. So the guys at the top level who are getting the higher levels quicker, like myself and a few others, they are going to have a big advantage in the PvP. I've fought against people that were like level 10 and stuff. So it was a little bit of an issue because I just one-shot them, obviously. Now, there is a lot of stuff you can also buy with just the in-game currency gold that you pick up off of monsters. You've got the growth stuff. I've been buying a lot of stuff in here. But that's enough on the monetization. There is going to be some pay-to-win aspects to the game. It's inevitable. That's how it is. If you don't want any pay-to-win aspects, then just stop playing mobile games because it's just how it is. We can't do anything about it just yet unless we stop the entire world from buying and purchasing this stuff. It's never going to end because they're making too much money. So let's move on from the microtransactions, and we're going to go into some of the mechanics. Now, we do have a lot of stuff here. You have your dungeons. Now, the daily dungeons will give you certain kinds of items. So this is just your solo stuff, and you'll be able to do them once a day, and they give you certain levels of lunarium, which you use to actually craft stuff. A lot of it is used in crafting a lot of the better armor and weapons, etc. You do get more than enough dropped and from quests though at the moment, but I'm sure later on down the line when the crafters are much higher level, then there'll be a lot of stuff on the marketplace, which the game does have. It has a player run market. And then you have your group dungeons recommended for players. This is one of the only group dungeons they actually have. You can go into any dungeon as a group, but you can set them to easy. Like if we go into Kelcher Entrance, you can go into hard. It says recommended players. You can go in with multiple players and you can go in there. It does cut your XP down a little bit, but they do add a bonus if you are grouped. So it will be split by the amount of people in your group, and there's 4 per group. So you'll get 25% of the XP, but you'll be killing quicker. So it doesn't really set you back that much. It's just they didn't want it to be so overpowered when you have 4 people in there all running together and speeding through a lot of the content with the same amount of XP. It wouldn't have been good for anyone. There's a couple of different dungeons at the moment, all with their own aesthetics, all with their own types of mobs, and they all give different levels of gear. Now, obviously, the starting level, entry level stuff is you're looking at 73, around 73, but I was doing this in the 60s. It was able to be done. The Novice Trainer Hall, I've done this one. I've also done Hanging Gardens. I have done Ossuary. This is the one I haven't done. This is still a little bit too ahead for me. I do get hit pretty damn hard by the boss at the end. I can't complete that one. Now, the raiding system is quite weird. You cannot do it all the time. You can do it certain times of the day, and the emergence time is 3 a.m., 6 a.m., 9 a.m., 12. It's every 3 hours a raid will open up, and you can go in and fight the actual raid itself, which you can't really AFK in because it is pretty good because you can sort of automate your attacks, and you can actually set up, depending on where you place your abilities on your bar down here, actually it sets when they are activated. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This will be the first one activated on the left side, and the right side will be the last one activated. So you can set a rotation up. So it's not all just completely automated stuff. You actually have to think strategically. You can't have random abilities in there, which is also the same you can do in PvP if you set it up to have your abilities in a certain rotation, it will actually do a lot better for you. Some people can't actually like press the abilities as quickly as others, and they're not as ambidextrous as some of the other players. So it actually helps them out a little bit. But with the raids itself, there's a lot of mechanics of a lot of area of effect stuff. It's a lot of blobs on the ground and area of effect abilities that explode outwards from the center of the guy. And no one has a range far enough to be able to get out of that first raid boss. So if you're AFK in there and you're not worrying about the mechanics, you're getting one shot by these AoEs. So it is actually something that will like push you into actually at least interacting with the raid itself. And if you are sitting there AFK in the raid for too long of a time, obviously if you just go in there and you're sitting there and you go AFK and you don't have your automated on or anything, then it will kick you out of the raid. There is a guild function in there, and we do have a guild. Its name's Karma. If you're on the EU server 2, you can apply to join with us. We do have quite a lot of people. Gadget's joining us. Level 81. I was actually running with him earlier. He's actually a pretty good player. So we'll keep him. We'll get him in here. He's one level higher than me, though. So if you do want to join us, just apply to the guild and I'll get you in there. There is a maximum limit right now of 20. I do not know if we can actually up that. It doesn't look like we can at the moment. I believe it's going to be 20 is the maximum amount of members for each of the guilds, which means there should be a lot of guilds floating about so you can find one that is actually good for you. Now, the exchange tab is going to be your market, your player market, the recently registered stuff, so you can see what the latest stuff is that have come and been put up on here. Some of this stuff is selling for quite a lot at the moment, even though they're quite low level. But you have your weapons, all of it's filtered however you want to look at it. Your consumables, your potions, your materials, your homestead. There is a housing system in the game, which I will show you in a little bit. But it's your standard player-driven market, standard market there. The items are dropped. They're not all crafted like you're looking at your Albion Online and your Eve Echoes, but there is still the way that you can actually do a lot of crafting and sell those crafted items to players, especially the ones that aren't paying to win. It will help them, especially if you don't start trying to rob them for all of their gold. It should be quite good. Now, if you are a collector and you run around and you want to be a completionist, like in your World of Warcraft, getting all your mounts and getting all your bloody achievements and your titles, etc., there is that system in this game as well. There's a lot of different things that you can do in here to get your achievements. There's the combat achievements, how many people you kill, of certain types of monsters, and different kinds of enemies that you're going to be killing. So if you do enjoy the sort of achievement side of things, there are a lot of stuff here that you can complete yourself. No problem, jump straight in, enjoy yourself. In a similar vein, you have the codex system where you actually, if you want to collect every item in a game, again, like quite like World of Warcraft, they're picking a lot of the good aspects of MMOs that people really enjoy and have stuck it into a mobile game, which is really good for me because I love collecting every little bit. As you can see, I've collected quite a lot of different items all the way across the board so far, trying to get one of each. The blues haven't dropped that much. The purples have hardly dropped. I've only got a couple of those bad boys. And then obviously your fishing, your logging and crops, getting all your different items there, and your mining. You have your collection stuff for your housing, your cooking, your transforming. I think I have actually, yeah, I do. I have the Azure Bee, which gives you a massive boost in speed if you do transform it into that bee, which is quite nice. Then you have another one, which is the collection system. Now, this collection system, you get items in the game that drop, and then you put them in here, and then it will give you, once you collect both of these, you can unlock a +3 defense. It's another way to sort of get your character above everyone else by taking your time to find all of these items, craft these items, and fill in these slots to be able to actually get these extra little bits of stats, but it's still going to go a long way in the end. Now, there is a rank system in the game. The top player at the moment is now level 100. I am currently ranked at 9th place, and because I'm making this video and it's taking quite a long time, I'm going to be falling behind just a little bit, but I'm going to be pushing for it over the night. I've been doing a lot of manual play because I do find it quite fun to be able to actually manually play the game. And when you go to sleep, there is a mechanic where you can actually go into here and go into the sleep mode, and you can actually just go to sleep and whatever area you're in. So I'll give you a little tip here. When you're in an area, go to the highest area so the areas have a lowest minimum level that you should be in there to a maximum level. Find one with a very high minimum level, and when you go AFK and you go sleep mode and you go into bed, it will actually go to the lowest level of that area that you're in. So if you're in an area that's 83 to 87, I will actually go to sleep and it will level in there until it hits 83. So just a little bit of a tip there. Make sure you do that, otherwise it's just a waste of the amount of time that you're going to be over there doing the sleeps. You do have your standard specialization system. Any items that do drop, for instance, all of these whites and greens will upgrade and give you certain stats in here. Again, you can do this by buying from the market from players, or you can go around farming these items by just putting on auto, and then whatever drops, and you start upgrading this stuff. You can buy some of these items that actually give you quite a few levels in this, but you don't really have to buy it. It's not going to put you back too far. The percentages are very minute. You got your standard crafting system, you got your dismantling, you got your options, which is the sort of like you can change a certain ability on an item or add an ability to an item if they have the slots available. Again, to sort of min-max your character the way you want it to be. If you want higher crit chance, if you want higher crit damage with a high crit chance, if you want just more, your standard attacks doing more damage, then you'll go for more physical attack, etc, etc. Now the stats themselves, when you level up, you get a stat point. You put your stats in wherever you want them to go in. Me, obviously being a sculptor, I'm going higher strength, higher agility, and a little bit into constitution. Those are the 3 stats that you will need for this character. And now we go into the pet system. Now the pet system where you tame different animals. So for example, while I tamed a rabbit, it's part of the main quest, you'll get this rabbit, but it will give you an actual movement speed increase, and that will make your movement speed increase by 3%, which is not massive, but there are other animals that will give you higher percentages. And then you have the wolf, which increases your attack by 50% when the pet hits. It also has a 30% chance of activating the following debuff, and it adds 80% of attack as bleeding damage every 2 seconds for 8 seconds. So it does do quite a lot of bleed damage, and it does help you out when you're actually out there fighting and doing a questing. It's basically just it's like a hunter's pet where it actually helps you out. But the pet does level, and when you do capture it, it does start off at level 1, and you have to level that pet up, and it will do more and more damage the higher level that it is. And then you have your buddy system. I've got my cool little Kung Fu Panda here, obviously named him Po. What else am I going to call him? Now, these are the ones that you can actually buy with real money and buy with other currencies that you get in the game and sort of XP. And these will give you XP acquired from enemy elimination. Obviously, the higher tier that you get, the more XP that you get, and you get your max weight increases, damage to monsters and elite monsters, and item acquisition. But there's nothing in this buyable sort of thing that you can do to actually give you an edge in the PvP scene. Now, obviously, if you just want to run around and get some XP while you're sitting there doing some work, and you just have your phone sitting next to you and you want to be able to auto some stuff, maybe farm some certain items that you want for crafting from certain monsters, then you can do that. There is a little trick that you can do, because none of these skills are actually automatically set to auto use. You can auto attack, just auto stab. But if you don't hold down on here and drag up, like, because I've already got it right now, it's sitting there and it's unactivated, then you activate it. If you hold it down and drag it up, drag your finger up, it will set that. And once you see that swirly, shiny circle going around, that skill is going to be used automatically when fighting. There's a lot of quests, there's a lot of side quests, there's a lot of HQs, there's a lot of TQs, the MQs, the main quest, and the PQs is the sculpture quest that you get. You can only activate on one character, so make sure you're on the character that you want to stay on to keep that on there, because it can only be activated at the beginning on one character. Now lastly, for the automated, you can go into the autoplay. You can set when you auto use HP potions. I've got them at 50% at the moment. I prioritize moving to the destination over killing everything on the way. You can actually turn that off and just kill everything on the way. That's no problem as well. I'm going to turn that on now. You can ignore cowardly monsters. The cowardly monsters are just your standard critters, and it's a lot of time wasting when you're just hitting it for 1 XP. You can do your auto hunt range, which means if it's going to be keeping within where you start, very close, tight knit into the point where you want it to start. Or you can have a normal, which is sort of a larger area, and then the wide, which is a massive area where your guy runs it all over the place to get to kill what you want it to kill. You can allow what equipment. At the moment, I'm allowing all equipment because I'm using them to actually break down for the crafting and to upgrade the speciality stuff. You can collect materials on the way, you can quest monsters and items, you can set the priorities of what you want to be. So enemy attacking me is the priority, the picking up item is the number 2, which if you have that, obviously that buff for your buddy, that doesn't matter because they'll be picking up all the items, you can actually turn that off. And then you can attack other characters. Now if you set the PvP mode on, there are a lot of people with the PvP mode on, and if you spot those players, you can kill them. They'll have 2 cross swords, 2 red cross swords above their head. You can actually fight them. So there's going to be a system in place that actually frowns upon people who do that. But you can just never have the PvP turn on in the open world. So you don't have to worry about that if you don't. Just be careful when you're pressing the automate, you might accidentally click the PvP button. So all in all, I'm actually really enjoying the game. I really do hate auto battlers and auto clickers, but because of the fact that it has a lot of the stuff that you can manually play, and it's fun to manually play the actual character itself, especially when you're doing dungeons. You want to get through the dungeons as quickly as possible. Just do what you need to do rather than kill everything inside of the dungeon. It does add some layers, and you don't get left too far behind for those players that just want to keep up with everyone while you're asleep or while you leave your phone on. Like, you don't have to be asleep. You can just put your phone on charge, leave it on the side with it playing in a certain area, and it doesn't take away any of what you're doing. Some people don't like to do that, and they can use that sleep system. But unless you've paid for the premium version, you don't pick up any items for the sleep system. So it's always better to just leave your phone on and leave it like plugged in and just leave it on the side. It goes into eco mode. Your phone does get quite hot while it's playing the game and charging though, so be careful your phone doesn't explode on you. But I'm definitely going to be playing this game quite a lot. I'm having a lot of fun so far. I'm going to be making a lot of content on there. I'm going to be making guides for what you can do. All the different things, go into more detail, some tips and tricks on how to actually, when you start off the game. So make sure to like and subscribe if you did find the video useful. Hope it wasn't too long, but there's a lot of stuff to go through and a lot of stuff that I still didn't go through. But I didn't want the video to be 30 minutes long. So apologies if I missed any minute detail. There will be videos that go into heavily more detail later on. The monetization is there. There are pay-to-win aspects. So if you want no pay-to-win aspects in your mobile games, then don't play the game, because it does have that and it will have that. PvE won't matter too much because you'll just be enjoying your own personal experience. PvP, on the other hand, you will get ass blasted by people that are paying money. It's inevitable, and it happens. But anyway, that's all we have for today. Remember to like and sub if you haven't already. This is your one-stop shop for mobile gaming. Fly safe and avoid local chat scams. I want to say a huge thank you to all my patrons. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to continue doing what I'm doing. If you'd like to find out how to become a patron and how to get early access to my content, please look down in the description. Fly safe and avoid local chat scams.